All right, today we're going to be talking about time zones. We've been talking about how the Earth and the rotation of the Earth around the axis and the revolution of the Earth around the sun affects day and night, and then affects the seasons. So all devices need to be closed. You got this paper yesterday. Should be in your binder. Please have it out so we can read this together. So, time zones. As the Earth rotates on its axis, the sun shines only on one part of the Earth at a time. While the sun shines where you live, it's nighttime somewhere else. When you're eating breakfast cereal, children in Paris are finishing the school day, and children in Moscow are eating dinner. Children in Bangkok are going to bed, and children in Sydney, Australia are getting up for the next day of school. Wherever you are on Earth, you know that the sun rises in the morning and that noon is about the middle of the day. However, when it's noon in New York, it's dark in Japan. Therefore, clocks in New York and Japan must show different times. To get around this problem, people divided Earth into 24 time zones. A time zone is like a north to south slice of Earth. If you traveled all the way around the Earth at the middle, what is the middle of the Earth called? That invisible line that runs through the middle? Good, the equator. So if you traveled all the way around the middle of the Earth, or the equator, you would pass through all 24 time zones. Large countries such as the United States and Canada have several time zones. So when it's 9 o'clock a.m. in California, it's 11 o'clock a.m. in Iowa, and it's noon in New York. Wow. So our time zone, ours is the Eastern Standard Time Zone. That's the time zone we're in. So we're in the same time zone as New York and Chicago, I think. Maybe not. But New York for sure, Atlanta, Washington, D.C. is in our time zone. All of us is in the same time zone.
I thought New York was like 2 hours ahead of us.
Nope, we're all in the same time zone. So imagine an orange. You've all like peeled an orange, right? Okay? So you imagine peeling one of those little halo or cuties, you know, the oranges. And you know how it's made up of all those little individual segments of orange, those little, it's almost like slices, but it's not slices because it's made like that. You didn't cut it. It just comes apart in those little chunks. So if you have that orange, imagine that that's the Earth. And each of those segment chunks is like a time zone. So when the Earth rotates, those time zones come in contact with the sun at different points. So for us, it might be noon, but on the other side of the country, it would be 9 o'clock in the morning because they're a few hours behind us. So my husband has a friend who lives in California, and sometimes he'll text him at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, it's a little bit late to just be having tee-hee-hee-hee conversation. And he's like, oh, but he's in California. He forgets how far of a time difference it is. So that's how it is. Yes?
Can I do some something?
Is it an emergency?
Once when my dad was in China, so at like 9 o'clock at night, it was around 9 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So we could only call him like once or twice a day.
Right, because otherwise somebody's in bed or at work. Can I?
I was wanting to say, in China, like yesterday was the 21st for us, but today for them is the 21st.
That's right, because they're like 12 hours behind us. Yep, or something.
Yeah,
A lot of hours behind us.
daytime for us, it's daytime.
So like their dates are a little different too.
And they have to get straight A's.
I've heard that in Japan. I know for sure. I've heard
When they have to get straight A's.
because their parents are strict. They have just it's a cultural thing.
It's
Cool.
So like in all these states remind me that we're going up in Utah, and this has me asking a question. I don't think Utah is the same time as
Not at all.
Utah. It doesn't have the same climate as most
Correct.
states and countries.
Well,
It's
desert, more desert.
it's a desert. It's really dry.
Mm-hmm.
We if it gets too cold, since it's really dry there, there's no moisture, and your lips and I think between your fingers will bleed.
Probably because it dries your skin out a lot. Hold on, Paisley's had her hand up.
Does that mean like right now it's dark outside in China?
Probably.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're going up there in the summer. Bring it just in case. So you need a chopstick.
All right, so just like we've done, we need to illustrate about our time zones.
So for
We're going to need to find our 4 vocabulary that help us to understand our time zones. We're going to write a little summary. And then we're going to answer our comprehension question. Time zones mainly tells about, so right here we're going to give what the main idea is of that passage about time zones.